Good evening. How are y'all doing? I made a few videos today, but I decided to make another one because something's heavy on my mind. It's about contracts in the ethers and about the inheritance that everybody is waiting on in my collective. That's not going to happen just out of the blue. We have to get together and decide what projects we're going to do with the finances that we'll be getting, exactly how they're to be utilized so that they can be appropriated correctly. Okay? You can't just go into it blindly and have just lots of money to just blow and spend on. Of course, you have to budget yourself enough to live on, but the main thing that God gives us the inheritance for is to do His will on earth to further His kingdom and His projects, humanitarian efforts. It's not religious efforts as much as humanitarian efforts. He wants us to grow food. He wants us to put in water systems. He wants us to make sure we have plenty of art and literature, plenty of entertainment, plenty of resources such as, food, clothing, etc. Okay, the basic necessities. He doesn't care if we go to Mars or not because it's absolutely, as a matter of fact, that's been being forbidden. The Galactic Federation's put a halt to that because of the intense amount of money that is spent on space exploration. It's not necessary anymore. We can gain the same knowledge from our galactic cousins. And contracts, now I'll get back to that. The contracts are no longer, old contracts are done. As of 3 years ago, there are no more contracts that are legally binding on this realm, and there's not any in the ethers, period, until we get the inheritance and the contracts for that. Then there'll be implemented new contracts. Those contracts are only going to be issued out to people who have done the work, who have been tested and tried, and they have projects planned. So if you're planning on gaining that inheritance and you want to take part in the new kingdom, I would suggest that you kind of figure out what you're going to do with the funding and do a portfolio of your, talents. Exhibit yourself. Put yourself on display there. Promote yourself. And whatever projects that you have intended or that you're thinking about, you might want to bring them up at a meeting. That's what it's going to take. It's going to take me meeting with y'all, and let's see what projects we have and get them approved. We have to appoint a council to look over those things and agree on that. It sounds like it'll work and it'll fit in with what else we got going on. And it needs to coordinate because, and I believe it will, because that's the way the Lord works. Anyway, I expect everything to go well with that. But if y'all are thinking that it's just going to come out of the blue and you're going to get a call from, no, it's not going to happen that way. We have to decide what we're going to do first. We're not going to be told a dollar amount. We're going to be told what we need to do. I would suggest praying first. Pray to the Lord to reveal to you what it is that He wants you to do for His kingdom and how you can use your talents and abilities and skills to further that. And I can guarantee you it won't be practicing magic on anybody. Now, you may have to share your healing skills and metaphysical knowledge and things like that with people, but you're not going to be asked to do magic on anybody. And if you are asked to do magic on anybody, please turn them in. We're going to form a council of enlightened beings. And anybody that's asked to do magic, if y'all will just let us know, we will handle that and prosecute these people for even attempting to do so anymore. There's enough of proof on record that it actually does have an effect. It can take lives, it can ruin lives, it can ruin health, and it's got a backlash to it that's really horrendous, and it's real. It's not something that you play with. But next thing, if that doesn't work very well, or it's much complication, I'm going to start binding powers up on anybody that's even suspected of misusing. And we're going to have some of them and more enlightened beings write spiritual law, a list of spiritual laws that must be adhered to, where during your spiritual practices you make sure that you don't cross those lines and blur them, please, because this causes karma. It causes an upset in the system. When spiritual law is violated, it's taken very seriously in the ethers because it's a disruption. It's a disruption to the flow of the creative universe. It's a disruption to our resources, to our weather patterns. It goes far, deep, and wide. It's not meant for spiritual law to be violated, especially not in the way that it's been butchered, raped, and abused in the past probably 10 years or better. Maybe longer than that. Probably my whole life. But for the most part, it's just a few years at least, going back 5 years at least. It's been being abused regularly and to a degree that is astounding. But I thought I'd discuss that. Contracts, there's only one person, that being me, that's being called to deal with contracts. I'm aware of spiritual laws and I'm aware of contractual agreements, how they're formed in the ethers and how they're brought forth into the 3D and how they're implemented. I can set up these contracts and I can appoint an attorney to preside over the contracts to hold, to make sure everything is done correctly. It will take a little bit of 3D effort to do so, but for the contracts to be legally binding and the funds to be released to just whatever's in the contractual agreement, that won't be your contractual agreement, what the amount of finances you have for that, for projects and to accomplish your goal, joint goal or a humanitarian effort. That won't be the same as your inheritance will be for your personal. It'll be separate. You'll have separate amounts for that because we're not going to tie that up in each other at all. And you're not going to be restricted from having money to live on because we want you to spend most of your time and energy into the new projects and not having to work your ass off after you done worked all this time doing spiritual work and earning an inheritance to start with. So we want to take a little break and rest and just put our mind on new projects for New Earth projects. Healing the hearts and the minds and the bodies of our fellow man. This is probably going to upset people because they're expecting all kinds of, I keep hearing all this stuff about contracts and all these fake contracts and stuff. All of them are fake right now. All of them. The only one withstanding anymore is between the United States governments and the Easters. Okay, there's a bank for the collective. It is Enlightened Beings and Healers Association, artists, muses, those type things, which is inheritance, spiritual teachers and healers. Okay, but on the 3D, you can't get to them. It takes going through the medium. So it's a good thing you didn't manage to kill me, because if you did, you would have locked down inheritance until I could come back to the earth, because I wouldn't be able to release it from there. So the only way that it can be released from there and brought into here is for me to follow the instructions and go step by step. And, I'm used to that. I take daily steps and do what I'm guided to do. So but that's beside the point. It's going to happen, but right now the main focus is what are we going to do for our projects that we're going to spend the money on? What will we need the finances for? How are we going to need it? Is it going to be dished out? How long will it last? We need to know a basic amount. Give me a good expenditure. I'd like to see exactly what we're going to be spending the money on. Okay. We might want to get some guidelines from project managers in similar projects around the world or in this country. I would like to see worldwide in other countries too, because we may can get some better ideas for some countries that are more, they know how to make a buck go further. Americans tend to overspend, while a lot of other nations are more thrifty in general and just in nature by the way they're designed and the way they're set up and the way they conduct themselves. So anyway, there won't be any new contracts outside of those, and those won't be handed out to anybody who does not receive an inheritance, who has not done the work, who does not meet the qualifications. That most people already knows who they are, but there'll be a test that'll be given, and upon that test being given, a certificate, and then you'll do your you've got to come up with a project. If you don't have something that you want to do that's going to contribute with some of the finances, and you're not going to be able to take part in such as that, you're not going to be allowed. You might as well forfeit yourself. I'm not saying that you may not be valuable if you haven't or not a part of the collective, because you may be, but if you don't have anything to contribute right now at the moment and you can't pass the test, you're going to have to forfeit your spot and let somebody have it that will and can, and just take the smaller amount uh, to live on to get your rest. And there will be overflow, which will be handed out to the, lower income people in this country that are usually probably the ones that are unemployed or on Social Security. They'll be drawing a small, amount of money, and we'll be setting up different uh, homeless shelters and things like that. That's one of the things, the projects that we'll be doing, things like that. Um, I'm gonna make an extensive list of things that I know needs to be done and what will be considered um, a necessity. And we need to start with what we have around us, the materials we have around us, the buildings we have around us, and what we have that we can, coordinate to utilize what we have around us first, so that we don't go outside of our city, state, providence, our general area um, to spend, to gather, or to implement. I'm not perfect. I'm having to go with this fresh just like anybody else is, and we're having to play it by ear. And I'm just to go between to tell you what the word is on that. So everybody's wondering about the inheritances, about when we're going to do them. Okay, we're not going to at all until we get the projects situated and we get tested. Now, I will be working on the test. Um, and I'll have to have some people to review the test. I think I would rather interview myself. I think I would have to take the time, actually, now that I think about it. The test, I think, is going to have to be a face to face interview. It's going to have to be me being able to ask questions randomly and do a reading on someone so that I can determine myself whether this is a member of the collective. And I'd like to hear firsthand what type of projects we plan to do. And then I would ask, if approved, did they put this in writing, what they had planned to do, and give me a proposal of project plans and expenditure, expense calculations, so that I can see what the skinny is on that. Okay, I've never done this before. I've never done anything even remotely like this. I've never had very much money past $700 a month to survive on, you know. So, this time we've got $900, $960 now from Social Security. I was court ordered to apply for disability when I was 22 years old, and I got second time that I filled out the paperwork, it was approved. I was very shocked, and I didn't want to get on disability. I was working, and I was happy just fine working. I had no problem with that. So me being on disability is not because I wanted a free ride. It's because I was court ordered to apply because I was having some difficulties at the time. It was spiritual warfare, and I thought that I was losing my mind, and I was battling. I was battling hard. I'm gonna, this video has been 20 minutes already, so I'm gonna let it go because I don't really want to post them any longer than that, because I'm also posting on Facebook. Besides YouTube, I'm posting on Facebook so that I get it, the messages out there as I'm guided to. Because people are really ready to move forward, and we really can't move forward without this next step. And I have to be the one to deliver this message and to deliver the results. So I know a lot of people don't like me. They want to make me controversial. And it doesn't matter if you like me or not. I'm doing what I'm guided to do. And if you can't respect that, then you're not a part of my collective anyway. And so it really doesn't matter what you say. You stand on the sidelines and watch us work. That's all I can say. Okay. That being said, I'm not trying to be an ass, I promise. It just is what it is. I'm so used to people not liking me for one reason or another. If they don't like something, they'll pick and find something that they don't like. Just because they don't like the authority that I carry, they don't like the power within which I speak, they don't like the God that I serve, I know, because I feel that. If you take an instant dislike to me, it's mainly because you have some problems with God, truly. Or you have some problems with anybody with authority. And I'm not throwing it around cocky with my chest poked out like a fancy rooster or nothing, I promise I'm not. But I know who I am, and I know what I carry in the spirit, and I know what I'm put here to do. And I'm not in denial or confusion about that at all. And I want to move forward because we're tired of being stuck in the rut. We've been spinning our wheels now for a while, several years now, just spinning and spinning and spinning. And we're ready to move forward. So I'm going to take this step and say, let's move forward. The quicker people gather up, the quicker it can be. I guess I'll put in the description for this, on this video, my email address so that, y'all can email me if you want to, discuss, get together, discuss, doing interviews so you can get approved for the collective and documented so you can get your money when it's time. And so you can, you don't have to tell me none of that, personal information, but just get approved. That's good enough. Get approved first, and then after you get approved, I'll put a list on the website of everybody that's been approved, and then we'll have you contact the lawyer's office and give them your personal information so that you can get your checks and, paperwork and arrange for, the projects and get stipulations. It may take a little bit to get all this done. I may have to use a team of lawyers or maybe each city to have a local lawyer work on your paperwork for whatever city is right there, close within the vicinity. I don't know exactly how this is going to work out. I'll think about that and implement it later. But if anybody's got a suggestion, feel free to comment and say what's on your mind. Because I want to hear it right now. I don't know if I was to get 7,000 views on this, whether I'm going to want to hear what's on your mind or not. But the collective's pretty damn big, so, But right now we're only gathering up, and it may take a little while to climb up to the top. The amount that we're meant, to start at that 144,000. The project should start profiting and pay for more, so that we're not spending more than what is budgeted, and we still live comfortably and have plenty of money to do our projects with, and still have a little left over for emergency needs, like, say we have a tornado and it wipes out a city. Okay, we should have the money to be able to come in there and help everybody in the city, feed, clothing, shelters. This is the plan. I'm hoping it works out that way. I'm thinking it will, because that's the way I've seen that divine works, when you follow his guidelines and you go step by step. We can't jump out there and go from just hurdling and jumping over hurdles and missing all the little parts in between, because the little parts in between is really, really the nitty-gritty details, is where the most abundance is going to come from. And if we don't follow it to the T, then our abundance won't come in the way that it needs to, and grow the way that it needs to, and be fruitful and blessed according to the Spirit. So I want to pray. Ask Heavenly Father, my Father, Amun Ra, to bless this collective, Lord, and send all the help we need. Send everybody that needs it, the divine blueprints for what you want them to do, their part on the projects, Lord. Show them the grand design, and help us all to find our foot and our place in that, in the collective, and so that we may receive our divine inheritance with no problem. Lord, let us know step by step what we need to do, and form those connections with people that are going to be beneficial to each other, that we may collaborate and find grace and mercy in our day-to-day lives, and find joy in collaborations with each other. Lord, let your light shine divinely and wholly upon us. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen Ra. Amen.